1958, when the Pies won their 13th premiership, they played in 9 grand finals for a net return of 1 draw and 8 losses.
I mean, here's a club that hadn't won a premiership since 1958. They're back in there with a chance with not a great side. How hungry are you? How desperate, and what's your desire like?
After all those many years, it's just raw emotion.
This was built up as a massive game.
After having all the heartache, I was so scared.
I hated them as a football club more than anything.
He knew I was coming in behind him, so we shaved up.
Thinking to myself, oh no, don't tell me.
Just went really quiet. It was the most eerie thing I've ever experienced.
Just felt so gutted by the whole thing, and it's something that still troubles you.
Never forget it and miss him deeply to this day.
You know, you think, gee whiz, I was that close.
We want to win this grand final, keep our eyes on the ball and be the victims.
This is it. Emotional scenes at the MCG.
They need to make something here. Langdon, the snap is good. What an amazing finish to the qualifying final.
We finished on top of the ladder and we travelled out to Waverley in a bus and see Collingwood versus West Coast in that first final.
It was a really tight game, and somebody said, look, let's get back to the car park and hop in the bus and we'll listen to the final bit of the game.
At that stage, we thought West Coast were going to win.
Back to Mullane, likewise. Dacos nearly runs out of room. He's gone!
Hoisted high. Back goes Sumich and he's taken the mark. I don't think the Eagles can lose from here. It's a question of whether they can win.
Peter Sumich had the ball. The Eagles were a point behind, out of our control then.
I remember Guy McKenna played on me, and at the very end of the game, I said, what happens now? We play extra time? And he said, no, I'll see you next week. And I thought, God.
Well, there was deathly silence in the bus.
What does that mean to us? And of course, it meant that we had another week off.
Well, morale wasn't that good. The fact that we weren't going to play again was a little bit disturbing, really.
It was a mental challenge and a mental hurdle, I think, from that point on. We had no idea that September would turn out to be the longest September in football history.
Collingwood's aggression on Saturday steamrolled the Eagles, and with Essendon raring to go after a prolonged layoff, we're certain to see a very lively first quarter on Sunday.
We're so pumped to play the Bombers at the G.
Held before the ball even came back to him. He's gone backwards, he's lost it. Russell gathers, inside 50. Russell goes for goal and kicks it.
That was a cracking game, and I think once we beat them, we're gone, here we go. We're a real chance.
There's the siren. The Magpies are in the grand final for the first time since 81. Collingwood, an absolute thrashing of the minor premiers.
That was the year we got the week off. They qualified for the grand final in the second semi.
We went and watched Essendon play out at Waverley. They played the West Coast, of course, and beat them. And Lee had organised for us to go down, I think it was the Peninsula Golf Club down on the beach.
Sort of take it easy. Well, we lobbed down there and Banksy, Mullane, Krasiska, Wright, myself, they said, right, we're out. I said, boys, we can't get out. The door's locked after you go out. So they tied a sock around the door handle. So they went out.
Look, a couple of the blokes went back to the city. I didn't go there.
They went to every joint in Frankston. 21st century, you go downstairs, they're all had a heap, and they just get on the banister and they slide down the banister. And of course, at the end of the banister, this massive ball. Bang, it hits Krasiska in the leg and gives him this massive corky. So they're all drinking, get up next morning, they get home with an hour to spare.
They did get caught out. We decided that they had to pay a price, so they did a fair bit of extra training, and I think a couple of them got fined.
Phone started ringing, and Lee, so I said, how'd it go, Lee? He said, oh my God.
Yeah, they did the wrong thing.
Gav's held me around. He said, Doc said, you weren't holding me around the other. No, I just got a bit of a corky from the week before. So the boys are out there pre-lim. Well, imagine that now. Imagine that now.
As the Bombers hit the track, the spectators made their allegiances clear.
They were massive build-ups, arguably the two biggest clubs in Victoria. This was built up as a massive game.
training was terrible, and it was flat, you know. And I had a real bad feeling about that training session. It was just wrong, how much we were fumbling. We just weren't sharp. We didn't have the right mood and vibe about the group, so I was anxious all the way through those couple of days. I was anxious about how we were going to perform on grand final day.
Brian Taylor, he's toiled and kicked goals for you over a decade of football and you've dropped him.
He's got worse knees than you have.
Well, he played the first final. I mean, he'd only played a handful of games in 1990. His knee was shot, really. I mean, he was a football cripple.
And he was hobbling. Brian wasn't at his best, but Brian at his best was absolutely in the side.
Follow your gut, and the gut feeling was that he physically wasn't going to be what we needed.
Estimates on the crowd vary. Players were sharp, efficient and full of beans. In fact, there was barely a fumble or foul up by anyone, as you'd half expect on grand final eve. Keenest to impress were Alan Richardson, marginalised by shoulder problems. Keen to impress too, the players in line to replace him, Ron McEwen and Shane Kerrison.
Well, Alan Richardson broke his collarbone in the second semi-final.
Up the ground by Kelly was good play. Richardson.
Initially, there was a bit of resignation that probably only lasted perhaps the rest of that day, and then just no, this is not going to happen. I'm going to do whatever I can to get myself right.
Well, it looks like he'll be okay. I must admit, it's a bit of a surprise to me. I thought last week he was sort of no chance, but he's done much better this week than I certainly thought.
I was doing all the training without the combative part of training, and I was convincing myself that I was right to go.
I was always going to put him through a pretty brutal fitness test.
So I was a little bit unlucky there because he was not that long out of the game. He was an incredibly powerful man.
15,000, 20,000 people watching this go down. And he sort of relaxed, and Lee knew he'd relax, and then Lee just went bang.
Basically just ran through me, ran over the top of me.
I remember at the time thinking, gee, that's a bit harsh.
It had to be done. Had to be done.
At the time, because I was just on incredible adrenaline trying to prove that I was fit to play in this massive game for a kid that had worked for the Collingwood Footy Club all his life. And I ran off thinking, gee, I'm a chance here. Woke up in the morning, I'm in a lot of pain. I'd semi-knitted, if you like, in the fracture in the collarbone, and Lee had made amends to that.
He put his hand up and said, "We won't worry about a Friday fitness test. I know I'm not wrong."
You think, gee whiz, I was that close. That was a tough time.
I felt for Alan Richardson, but we had to make some brutal decisions to make sure that we didn't fail.
The grand final parade is one of those pre-match commitments that the guests of honour would prefer had never been invented.
I guess most players would rather be sort of at home now, but it's part of the build-up.
I didn't want to be there. I mean, the last place I ever wanted to be was in that grand final parade. Friday, parade. What a shambles. What a total mess for the Essendon Footy Club that day. But I think we waited between 1 and 2 hours for our bus to arrive to pick us up that afternoon. Then we all went out to Flemington Racecourse to be received at a football club dinner. I don't think you should have players at a function the night before a grand final. I get home at 10 p.m, something like that. And it's not ideal.
I took Braden down the parade, my son. I looked down, he's bawling his eyes out. I said, "Mate, what's going on? And he goes, "Dad, I just dropped my Ninja Turtle." Anyway, I look back, and about 3 cars back, I see this Ninja Turtle on the side of the road. So I thought, will I do it? So I jumped out, and the bloody car wheel rolls over it and smashes it. And he just bawled his eyes out. So we get to the dais, and Mike Williamson was the compere. So I said to Mike, "Give me 5 minutes." So I ran into Myers. I bought a Ninja Turtle. I come back, and I give it to him, and he's still bawling because I got the wrong one. I thought, this isn't the greatest build-up we're ever going to have prior to a grand final.
Collingwood and Essendon, between them, have won 27 premierships, but this is their first grand final battle in 80 years. Under Kevin Sheedy, the Bombers won 2 premierships in the 80s. Their 1985 team is one of the greatest. Collingwood's misfortune in grand finals is a part of football folklore. This is football's most celebrated day, when one team triumphs, and today more than ever, it is an emotional occasion.
Subjectively, I must say, after 32 years, I don't think any club more deserves it than Collingwood.
For a legion of grand final-starved Collingwood fans, it was a chance to throw off the Collywobble curse.
The Collywobbles, you'd get to the finals and then you would play poorly when it mattered.
It really hung over you, hung over all the supporters.
The Collingwobbles are alive and well. The nervousness, the tension surrounding a possible grand final defeat.
There was no doubt that that was in the back of everyone's mind.
Collingwobbles, even in October.
We played on that as a club, and we made sure that we could unnerve Collingwood whenever we could, knowing that they'd had that history in the past.
Almost 100,000 people in at the cricket ground today.
In the past, if you went into a Collingwood grand final room, there'd be black and white and like a kid's birthday party everywhere.
I thought there'd be, streamers and balloons and it was nothing. There was nothing.
Any thought that you have to motivate, hype up, get the adrenaline flowing in your players is patently ridiculous. If the occasion doesn't do that, they're dead. So I always tried to make the dressing rooms as low-key as possible.
The big news so far is that Shane Kerrison is stripped and will be playing for Collingwood today.
Ronnie McEwen has missed out. He'll be disappointed personally.
There's always going to be the player or two that just misses out. I'm pretty callous about it.
For Collingwood, just 3 of their players have played in a grand final. Banks in 79, and then after him, Dacos and Tony Shaw.
Shaw got up and he looked his teammates in the eyes as captain and said, I played in 2 losing grand finals and I'm not playing in a 3rd.
I knew when I saw the Collingwood Football Club take the field, you could see it in their eyes.
It just looked like steely resolve. I think everybody had a belief that it was going to happen.
Just jam-packed in the raw. I got goosebumps.
They were convincing, and I loved that. It was about, game on. I hated them as a football club more than anything.
Here come the Bombers.
You're moving through, but you're trying not to take notice of the magnitude of what it is that you're doing.
I remember vividly thinking before the game, looking at different players that were on.
Rather unashamedly felt that I could win this game. If it had to be on my own, I'd do it. The big game is when the big guys need to stand up.
Wasn't a great side, Collingwood, but their spirit was great and their hunger was great. I'm probably coaching a side that might have had players that have won premierships. And how hungry are you? How desperate and what's your desire like?
The game's greatest prize is up for grabs.
Essendon do. Collingwood, long and low, the drop putt. Game to flyers, Dennis Banks.
First 10, 15 minutes, it seemed to go on forever. We didn't score. Real concerns there, just because we had so much to the play.
Across the face, Salmon! Written all over, the football was Paul Salmon's name and he marks Salmon directly in front. Shoots for goal, it's close, it's home.
And a psychological blow for Essendon after Collingwood did so much attacking for no reward.
Sometimes you just have those days where, as a forward, you want to be on the end of it. And I was just begging the ball to come in.
And Christian now at centre-half back, Kelly on the forward pocket on Salmon.
The 200-centimetre forward, I mean, you can't have a defender who's tall enough to play him. And I sort of put Craig Kelly back.
He's gone to Salmon. Salmon is crucifying Collingwood.
To a mark over my head, and well, that's not going to work.
Craig's just too small. It's Chriso and nobody. I just sent the message out to Chriso. Okay, mate, back on the Salmon. He's yours for the day.
Salmon punts for goal. He's happy. It's there.
Thinking to myself, oh no, don't tell me.
And the Magpies need a goal to find their feet. Dacos a rough chance here on the boundary line. Snaps and Goldwood. Are you kidding? The miracle man has done it. That was unbelievable and just what Collingwood needed. They might talk about that like Jesselenko's mark.
Oh, great. Now we're going. We're in this.
And it gave me a massive lift, to think, yeah, that's right, we've got this bloke on our side. We're a chance here, because he can do that.
The Magpies are settling. That is becoming clear. You can't blame them for being anxious early on. So much resting with them today. Starcevic, can't mark. Brown Rowe the pack, in the pocket, open goal, goal! Magpies in front, in the shadows of quarter time.
Kick is wide, over the head of Van der Haar. Makes good ground, runs out of room. There's the siren. In the first term in the 1990 Grand Final.
Typically, your grand finals guys are pretty pumped up. You know, there's a niggle up in our forward line. I don't know what started it.
I could see that something was going to happen. Wasn't sure when. As history shows, the spark was lit, and it was lit close to quarter time.
Quarter time in the grand final, and Bomber coach Kevin Sheedy is sprinting out to meet his charges. And there's a fight on. In goes Kickett, and it's nasty.
I don't know what I was thinking, but I ankle tapped Spawn to let him know I was around. And all of a sudden, Spawn's into me, and that's how the brawl started.
I only saw the Spawn try and hit Banks. Well, I went snap. And I ran, I reckon, about 30 metres, and I've just trying to give the biggest round arm, and I just missed him. I would have knocked his head off.
Then I've seen Redden run in, and I've gone and hit Kieran Spawn. TD's obviously gone in to fly the flag, as I did.
And he knew I was coming in behind him, so we shaped up.
Oh, this is no diggy touch. Oh! Collingwood player decked, and he hasn't moved.
I just jobbed him. He went down, but he wasn't supposed to stay down.
Just hit him with a really sweet one.
It was just like chaos. Well, so much anger, so much aggression.
You don't breathe. So anyone who says that fighting's good for you in a game is ridiculous.
Disgraceful. This is a blot on the game. That's an absolute disgrace. He's on very, very rubbery legs. Gavin Brown perhaps out of the contest.
A lot of people say it's out of character, for me to take that type of action, but you haven't got too much time to think about the pros and cons of it when you're in that position. I'm glad I stood up, for my teammate, and that's all I worry about.
Yeah, it goes. I was of that belief. Things have changed now, obviously, but back then that was the way it was. And I've got no qualms. I have enormous respect for TD.
We love Terry Dano, and it's just one of the most beautiful guys you'll ever meet. Equally, Magpies love Brony, and so it didn't help.
Now, I think the real key to this game is who is going to settle down, because the emotions are really, everybody has lost control of this game.
And I remember Lee, he grabbed me and he looked at me and he said my eyes were just rolling in the back of my head as if I wanted to kill someone.
They're puffing and blowing and their eyes are flaring. That's what the players look like. You had to try and calm them back down.
We wanted redemption. Don't ask me what Lee said, I wouldn't know.
And the thing that I wanted the most is I wanted to see their eyes. I wanted to make sure that I had their attention. We want to win this grand final. We've got to keep our eyes on the ball and be the victims.
Just totally focused on making us commit to each other that we're not going to go the man. Really important moment.
Sheeds did exactly the same thing to us. In first, the umpires want to pay free kicks. You've got to be there to win them. It appears in retrospect that both huddles are getting the same message.
Extraordinary scenes here at the end of that first quarter. I can tell you that Gavin Brown is going off the ground.
Comes clear. Kerrison goes down. McGuan gives a hand pass to Monkhorst, who's back for Brown. He puts Collingwood into attack, and Starcevic takes a very strong pass. 50 metres will bring him to within 20. I think the umpire's a little bit crook on Terry Dannero, and I can't work out why. Starcevic kicks and goals. Krzyzka has it. Inside 50, goes for home, and puts it through. The Magpies by 16 points, and they are on a roll.
The hand pass to Izard. Russell's got him. He's lost it.
50 metres, that is stupid.
Well, Essendon are rattled. Scott Russell, a gimme goal to send the Magpies further ahead.
And already that premiership is beckoning.
Russell's kick to full forward. Collingwood mark Krzyzka. Should be paid and will be. But he shoots from 20 metres out and pops it through. Up towards full forward. No mark, touched away. Now Kickett gets his right foot to the ball and fires through. Miraculous goal by Kickett. And the Bombers come back. Russell plays on quickly to centre half forwards a play on his own bowling. 50 by Ewing. And to
siren. Yes, the siren's gone. Collingwood 8-9-57. Essendon 3-5-23. Coaching staff of both teams hurriedly leaving the arena. Lee Matthews hugging and embracing Gavin Brown, who missed the complete quarter after being KO'd. As Lee Matthews makes his way up the race, Gavin Brown looked concussed.
He grabbed Gavin Brown, who was still half unconscious, held Brownie at the race until Terry came into their race. Lee grabbed Brownie's head and just whacked it into the wire and said, "The kid's coming back, Terry, you're too old."
He'll be back, Terry, he'll be back to get you.
It was starting to get, oh, here we go again.
He was wild, like he had wild eyes, and he was just giving it to Terry, and profanities were just tumbling out of his mouth.
And Terry's throwing punches at Lee through the wire.
It was such an odd thing for a coach to engage in a verbal battle with a player on the opposition side.
And then when we got into the rooms, I said, "What'd you do that for?" He said, "Just to keep them anxious."